And this week, an appeals court Thursday rejected former President Donald Trump's bid to delay a civil trial in a lawsuit brought by New York's Attorney General. Now, that allows the case to proceed days after a judge ruled the former president committed years of fraud, and the decision sets the trial to start on Monday.
Okay, here to discuss the upcoming trial, attorney Chandelle Summer and distinguished professor at Touro University, Thane Rosenbaum. First off, we're going to start with you, Chandelle. What do you think of the outcome, what it could be here?
Well, I'm not in New York, but I can tell you this. This is a statute that has been used successfully by the Attorney General to prosecute a number of corporate entities. And there's a very low bar for fraud. They don't have to show any harm, and they don't have to show any financial damage to whomever they are saying is the victim of the fraud, which to me is a very abusive statute when you say you don't have to have any harm. The banks aren't complaining here. The insurance companies aren't complaining. The only one complaining is the Attorney General. And it appears to me that it's politically motivated. This is more of the same pattern of trying to get Trump no matter what. And now they've gone after his businesses in New York. And it's not just former President Trump who's affected. There are thousands of employees of those companies whose occupations could be affected by this ruling. The amount of damages is ridiculous, $250 million. It'll put those companies out of business.
Yeah, Chandelle, that was, I just wrote down $250 million with an exclamation point. You know, Thane, to Chandelle's point, that is an outrageous sum of money, and that is the amount of money that it wasn't a jury who decided this. This is what Letitia James, Attorney General, who has made it her mission to take down former President Trump. That's the amount of money she decides the government is owed based on the alleged fraud charges against the former president. Set us straight here. What should we be looking at?
Well, Katrina, it's even worse than what you just described. From his perspective, remember, part of the remedy here is that he has to liquidate all of his New York properties, which is dozens of them, including Trump Tower. This is a man who built his reputation as a New York builder. I mean, I'm older than everyone on the set here, but I remember when Donald Trump first built the Trump Tower and how huge that was. And then he owned a football team in New Jersey, and he was really sort of a rock star. And his whole personality, his whole worldview is based on being a New York real estate magnate. And he's now being told by the New York Attorney General that he has to liquidate his properties. He cannot have any corporations in New York. All the certificates of operations and licenses for anything that he owns has to be liquidated. And that includes names of his sons as well, that they own anything. Now, he could theoretically put all the buildings in the name of his daughter or his wife, and he could still preserve it. But again, it takes away a lot of what he considers to be his self-identity. And remember, you know, this is based in some ways, when you think about abuse of prosecutorial discretion, you know, attorney generals for each state are supposed to be interested in consumer protection, right? That's their job. And there's really no consumer protection here. The consumers really were not harmed in any way. Neither were the banks, neither were the insurance companies. Everyone made money. He paid his loans back. So although she can bring it, it does seem in some ways to be purely vindictive.
Chandelle, I want to ask you, I want to talk about optics here. All these indictments against the presidents, now this civil case. I think, you know, to our viewers, this is the continued prosecution of the former president because he stands against the current administration. What do you have to say to that?
I think that there's some validity to that argument. I live in Georgia. I'm in Fulton County. So I can tell you that the lawsuit here is completely unnecessary. It's costing the taxpayers a fortune, and it's really based on the same conduct that is alleged to be a violation of the law that he's being prosecuted for in Washington, D.C. So we just have these duplicitous lawsuits. Now they're trying to cut him off at the knees by going after him for some alleged overvaluation of his assets in New York City. And valuation of assets is a slippery slope. You can value your assets for certain purposes differently than you do for other purposes. For example, fair market value is different than what is considered fair value of assets. So there's all sorts of intricate accounting terms that are used by people to value their assets. So this is not a clear-cut case. And quite frankly, if you don't have a victim, then why are they prosecuting him? I don't get that. But then again, I recognize they've used this particular statute, which is Executive Law 63, to prosecute Exxon, and they lost, and some other corporate entities. I think that
Chandelle, sorry, we're almost out of time, but I do want to just give Thane one last chance to get you both in here. Thane, just about out of time. Wrap it up with a nice bow, as you always do.
Oh, you're very kind, Nina. Look, this is in a civil case. It's not a criminal case. The other 4 cases are criminal cases that present the possibility of jail time. But honestly, I can tell you from Donald Trump's perspective, this is a death sentence, because this really goes to his, and they know it. And that's why they're not even giving him more time to get ready. That's why the statute of limitations has been already time barred some of these charges. They don't care. They're bringing the ones that have already been time barred. They know that this goes to the heart of his self-definition, and that's why we're here.
Going to be a big day Monday, obviously, following this along. Strong words there, Thane, calling it a death sentence. Wow. So, you know, we will be ready here. Thank you both, though, for joining us on American Agenda. Appreciate it.